and welcome to this evening's webinar, AAII and Better Investing, Portfolio Building with Exchange Traded Funds. Thank you so much for joining us. We are so happy to have you all here. My name is Susie Artsberger, and I am with Better Investing, and I will be your host tonight. While we wait for those joining to get settled in, I'll go over a few items. First, I want to remind our webinar attendees that both AAII and Better Investing are nonprofit educational organizations and are not financial advisors. Therefore, we are not able to provide personal advice. Every investor is different, and that's why our goal with each broadcast is to educate you on how to make a better financial decisions. Second, a reminder that presentation slides are located in the handout section of your GoToWebinar control panel. And then, if you experience any issues with the audio or video of the webinar, please consult the GoToWebinar website for support at gotowebinar.com. During the webinar, be sure to keep an eye on the chat or question panel, as we'll be sharing helpful resources, key insights, and other relevant links and resources. And finally, just a friendly reminder that this presentation is being recorded. A link to the webinar replay will be sent to all attendees later this week. The recording will also be accessible at aai.com/webinars and at youtube.com/betterinvesting. We have a wonderful presentation tonight from Cynthia McLaughlin. Cynthia is an investment editor at AAII. She is the lead editor of AAII Retirement Investing and VMQ Stocks, and also contributes regularly to the AAII Journal. She will be presenting on how to use AAII's ETF Screener to filter, sort, and identify ETFs that meet your investment criteria. How First Cut ETF lists can help you discover top and bottom performing ETFs as a starting point for further analysis. How to evaluate and compare ETFs side by side using key metrics like returns, fees, risk, and management details. And finally, how to leverage AAII's annual ETF guide for members and ETF Evaluator pages to stay informed and confident in your selections. During the presentation, if you have any questions for Cynthia, please send them in using the questions section of the GoToWebinar control panel. Once the presentation concludes, I'll select a few for her to answer, and if your question isn't selected during the broadcast, Cynthia will reach out to you afterwards, or feel free to email members@aai.com. We love that our webinars are interactive, so stick around for that live Q&A, as well as two special promos from AAII and Better Investing. So Cynthia, it's a pleasure to have you with us this evening. I know we are in great hands. I'll turn things over to you to guide us through your presentation and demo on ETFs.
Oh, thank you, Susie. Thank you for the great welcome. And I want to welcome all of our attendees and thank you for being here tonight. I look forward to this presentation, one of my favorite topics, exchange traded funds. So before I get underway with the official presentation, I wanted to mention a couple of interesting aspects and updates in the ETF industry. So ETFs have just crossed their 1 trillion threshold of inflows as of October 14th. And we are continuing to see the expansion of ETF share classes. So if you back up a couple of years ago, back to 2023, Vanguard had a patent which allowed them to launch ETFs and have ETF share classes within their mutual funds. Well, that patent expired in May of 2023. So there have been a number of ETF providers or mutual fund providers who have been interested in offering their mutual funds as ETF share classes. And right now, there are 62 firms who are waiting to resubmit their applications after Dimensional Fund Advisors, was given permission by the SEC to go forward with this particular initiative. And these firms are currently revising their applications to be more in line with what Dimensional Funds is going to be doing with their ETF share classes. And just to add interest to how ETFs are really transforming and becoming more important, there were 18.7 billion outflows in long-term mutual funds as of October 15, 2025. So my source is Investment Company Institute. Just wanted to mention these interesting things that are shaping the ETF industry. So on to the presentation. And what I'm going to be doing over the course of the presentation is I'm going to start off in the presentation. I do have a number of slides and I have a number of screenshots, but the screenshots are only more for your reference later on, or to use as a backup if there is some unforeseen technical snafu, which I don't anticipate. But I will start in the presentation and then jump over to our website for a demonstration. I think it's easier and more interesting to see everything on the website. So what we're going to talk about tonight, alluding to what Susie already introduced, we're going to talk about how to use AAII's ETF Screener, our First Cut or predefined ETF list, and then we're going to look at the ETF Evaluator, and finally take a look at how to average our annual ETF guide. So thank you again for joining tonight. So AAII's ETF Screener can be used to identify ETFs that meet your specific investment criteria. And on AAII.com, we have a number of ETF features. We have additional features that I will not be talking about tonight, but these are the comprehensive features available that we have for our subscribers. So focusing on the ETF Screener, it was designed exclusively for AAII A+ investor subscribers, or we call that just AAII Plus subscribers. And the functionality includes, we have filters for the universe of over 4,500 ETFs, and we have 40 different screening variables. And some things you can do, you can save these personalized screens for future use, or you can select from more than 20 of the predefined screens and edit and resave those for something that more specifically meets your needs. Within the screener, you can compare selected ETFs, or you can add ETFs to your personal A+ investor portfolio, my portfolio. And I wanted to mention that our data comes from Morningstar, and it is updated monthly. So the data that we are using tonight reflects the end of September. So we have an overview, and we have NAV performance filters. We have price and risk filters, portfolio management filters, and we show our screener results in the form of 5 tabs that go across, and the ETFs are listed alphabetically, but you can manipulate these tabs or these criteria any way that you see fit. You can sort on them. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to jump over to the website. Okay. So Susie, can you please be my set of eyes and let me know if you can see the AAII homepage?
Yes, I can.
Awesome, thank you. Okay. So from the AAII homepage, this is the ETF menu, and I'm going to just go right into the screener. And what I want to really build tonight is I want to add filters that will let us look for large blend ETFs. I figured that is something very straightforward to start with, and most of us have these in our portfolios. We have some type of large blend ETF or a large blend mutual fund. So this is what the filter criteria looks like, and I am going to go ahead and select global asset type, and I want to select the 3-year return category rank NAV. And then I'm going to scroll down. I want to select share class assets, and then in a minute I'm going to apply another little filter to those. I'm going to filter out inverse and leveraged funds. So inverse funds are funds where they're trying to do something basically that is opposite of a particular index, and leveraged funds, of course, use derivatives, swaps, options, different methods to try to amp the returns. And I am also going to select index because we are going to want to look at index funds. Okay. So now I have selected my filters, and right now I need to go in and refine further. I'm going to select US equity large blend. Oh. And then I'm going to actually go over here. I have a loaded, I'm going to load a saved screen just to make this go a little faster. ETFs. Okay. So my screen produced 89 ETFs. And what I can do at this point is I can scroll down to look at the results, which are displayed alphabetically. I can look at the NAV performance, the price performance. I can always get to the next group from up here in the upper left-hand corner, or I can look at the portfolio information or the management and fees. And if we go and look at the NAV price returns, so NAV measures the ETF's performance based on the change in its net asset value per share over time. And NAV represents the total value of a fund's underlying holdings divided by the number of outstanding shares, and it's kind of the intrinsic value of an ETF. And NAV returns and AAII A+ investor grades are available for 1 month, year to date, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, and 10-year periods. But of course, this will be limited to the history of the ETF. So if an ETF was incepted in December of 2024, then you are not going to have that, like 5-year history or any history that it has. Obviously, it's not available yet. And scrolling over just a little bit further, I'm going to limit the number per page so I can easily do that. Okay. And we also have the periods going back for the last 10 years. So you can see these are kind of the end of year, end of date periods, and this will give you all of your NAV information. And tracking error. Tracking error is an important field. It looks at the volatility in the difference of the performance between the fund and its index. And the metric is displayed next to the year-to-date return, a price return also. So going over to the price return, it measures the performance based on the change in the ETF's market price per share. So this is what you are going to pay if you go into an exchange and buy an ETF. And the same thing, you have price returns going from 1 month up to 10 years. And then you have going back for each of the past 10 years. And the 2025 price return, that's just a year-to-date figure. And moving on to risk, these are all of the risk metrics. And the category risk index, that is going to tell you the standard deviation of the fund's return. And that's divided by the standard deviation of return for the average in the fund's category. And we have a corresponding grade for that. And if you hadn't noticed, I should have explained this before, the grades go from A to F. So we have other risk category or risk information. We have a total risk return, standard deviation, alpha, beta, we have R squared. So we're trying to show you a lot of information about the ETF. And the interest rate sensitivity, that is measured by limited, moderate, or extensive. And of course, R squared is going to represent the percentage of a fund's movement that can be explained by the movement of the S&P 500 in this case. And then we have portfolio statistics. It's going to also, if you look over, it's going to tell you about the percentage of the portfolio that is in the top 10 holdings. So if you're looking at one of these ETFs that tracks the S&P 500 and it's an index fund, you're probably going to see some pretty high concentrations. And you're also going to be able to see the percentage of the portfolio that's held in cash. Are they sitting on a lot of cash? And is this a foreign? Does it have any foreign holdings? Is it an inverse fund, leverage fund? Of course, we've selected no in this case. And if you're interested in socially responsible funds, you're going to be able to filter or see those that are socially responsible. And finally, you can see the index that's tracked. And we absolutely want to know about expense ratios and fees. So in addition to the expense ratio, we have a tax cost ratio. And the tax cost ratio, that's one of my favorite things to talk about when I write journal articles. It measures how much of a fund's annualized return is reduced by the taxes paid on distributions. It assumes the maximum marginal tax rate. And if you are interested in the manager tenure, this information is in here along with the fund family and the web address. So if you want to go and do some more research with their prospectus materials and fact sheets, that information is there for you as well. So I mentioned earlier that you could kind of sort or arrange these columns from descending to ascending. So we'll do that right now, and that is what this looks like. So the order is no longer alphabetical, and we also see the grades are all A at the very beginning of our list here. Once you get your screens and your filter set up and you have your output, you can export this to Excel and then do further sorting and manipulation as you see fit. Okay. So once I get my screen loaded, I'm loading my saved screen for large blend ETFs. I could go in and I could save that screen, or I could do something with managing saved screens. So saving a screen just allows you to resave something or after you've made modifications, but managing, you're going to get a list of all of your screens where you can edit them, or if you don't want something anymore, you can go ahead and delete it. Okay, so I come back to my large blend screen that we created, and I wanted to point out that your filter criteria is always over here to the right, and you will also see the estimated results or the list of ETFs that pass that criteria. Okay. So now I'm going to navigate back to the presentation for just a couple of minutes. Okay. Oh, apologies about this. Didn't mean to flip around. Susie, can you see my presentation again?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. So another feature we have with our ETFs is our first cut list. We also call these predefined ETFs. And there are two ways that I'm going to show you to access these. You can access them from the AAII homepage with the ETF pull down menu, or you can access them as predefined screens from the ETF Screener. And if you're accessing them from the ETF pull-down menu, you're going to get a list with descriptions underneath, which if you're not quite sure what you're looking for, or you're just kind of looking around for some information, that might be helpful. Okay. To navigate back to and here is the list of the First Cut ETF screens. 22 of them I would like to show consistent category winners. This is a good screen to demonstrate, because unlike the large blend ETF screen that we just created and looked at, it was very specific to large blend. This goes across multiple categories. And so it's looking at the 3-year return rank within a category. It's looking for the 60 to 100%, and then it adds on 5-year and 10-year. So it's not only looking for those high performing ETFs, it's also looking for ETFs that have a long track record. They have been in existence for a while. And then it is looking at the return category risk. So we want low risk ETFs. You can filter on the risk of a given category, and we are again telling it no inverse funds, no leverage funds, and we are looking for ETFs with low expense ratios, only 0 to 40%. And 31 ETFs passed this list. So this is your list. Again, alphabetical. You can tab across, you can export it, and I always try to limit to 10 per page, just for the simplicity. So that is the First Cut ETF screens, and this one is specifically focused on performance. And the next thing to look at, I'm going to jump right back into the presentation. Okay. So we have what we call the ETF Evaluator, and there are several ways to access it. The simplest and most efficient way is when you're on the AAII homepage, go to this little magnifying glass and click on it. Then you will get this little box where you're going to be able to type in the ticker that you want to look at. And I'm just looking at Vanguard's VOO as an example. Wanted to point out that the information on this page is the same information as what is in the ETF Screener. The category averages are also provided. The Morningstar category averages, they're included for that apples to apples comparison. We have everything organized by paragraphs. You can quickly kind of sort through and look at what you need to see or what you're interested in. And there's this quick information at the top of the page. We've also included the best performing ETFs in this particular category. So VU is, again, part of the large blend. So we also see the best performing ETFs in that category over the last year. And we have also on this evaluator page, total and trailing NAV returns, and those are depicted in separate charts. I will show this, I'll jump over in a minute. And within the ETF Evaluator, you can do a number of things. You can look at this information, or you can actually go to a chart where you can just look at the performance over time, and you can get a little more granular, and you can also add another ETF or multiple ETFs to that. Okay, so let's go take a look. So when you search from the microscope, or I'm sorry, yes, when you search from that up here, you're going to have an opportunity to pull up that evaluator page, and it's also going to find articles and different types of media that focus on the ETF or ticker that you have typed in. For example, we have a how-to that was part of our journal for May, and we have some other information where we've talked about VU. Okay, so this is the ETF Evaluator. If you did not follow this already, you could add it to your My Portfolio. You can, here's all the information that you can see that I was mentioning, how it's grouped in paragraphs. We see that it has assets under management, and that it has an above amount of assets for the large blend category. So just a lot of information that allows you to quickly compare. And these are the trailing NAV returns, the category averages, the grades. And then if you go down here, these are the NAV total returns. And then you have the risk measures, the portfolio characteristics, and you can scroll further for the same type of information as in the screener with the management team and the portfolio composition. This does have a little pie chart that might make things a little easier if that is how you prefer to consume your information. And then we have expenses and fees, and the category average indicating that the rating is low, meaning this expense ratio is lower than the average category. So if you go to charts, you will see how the ETF has performed over any of these time frames. 3 months is probably a good visual representation. I can add, I'm going to add IVV just because it's one that I'm thinking of for some reason. And I can then go and look at how these compare over time. And if you don't like candlestick, can change it to something else. And you can change it so instead of displaying the daily returns, displays the weekly, or you can go up to monthly. Okay. And if you want to compare ETFs side by side, you can also do this by going in through the ETF pull down. We can type, I have several that I've saved already, comparing VU, also a Vanguard Growth and IVV. So if you click on compare, it will show you a lot of the same information, more in summary form though. So we have 2 large blends and a large growth, and these are all index funds. In this case, it shows you the inception date and some other metrics. And we could also do this. You could also do a compare by going down to the passing ETFs, go to the search ticker, and I'm going to enter VU. Okay. And it's going to ask me if I want to add it to a portfolio or compare. So I'm going to compare it, and then I'm just going to go ahead and populate again. So this is another way to kind of get around and get the results that you're looking for within the ETF screeners. Okay. I'm going to go back to the presentation for a minute. Oh. Okay. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about is leveraging AAII's annual ETF guide. So again, under the ETFs, we have a guide to ETFs, and we have a number of different things that you can look at under there. We have ETF categories. You can look at the global asset classes, the groups, and the indexes. So I am going to go ahead and navigate back. I'm just kind of working down what is in this area. So this is a good place to start if you want to kind of whittle down. You're not sure, you're looking at categories. You want to see what categories did well, and you want to maybe then refine your search further. So these are going to show you the categories that performed best over a 1 month return. That's the 1 month period. That's kind of the default. Or you can go over here and sort by year to date. Or you can do it by 5-year, 10-year. You could look at the total risk index, the yield, or the expense ratio. So if you're looking at the 1-year return, commodities that are trading commodities, that is done the worst. is actually not done well over any time frame listed, and it has a total risk index of 2.91. So the way to think about a total risk index is anything less than 1 is below average, and anything greater than 1 is above average. Or you could look at what global asset classes have done best. The miscellaneous has done well. Equity is somewhere in the middle, and then you have all of the other time frames to focus on as well. Could look at these by ETF group and also by index. Again, the idea is to look at things more on a broad approach and then use this to refine further. We can see that the S&P 500 1-month return year to date, and then looking at some different numbers that are further out as we expand our time frame. Okay. And if you look at, Susie mentioned the top and bottom performing ETFs. So this is where you can look at equities and by US equity, international equity, sector, or fixed income. You can look at top, bottom, or you can look, you can add a fund family. So if I want to look at all of the top US equity ETFs and I want to focus on Vanguard. Let's see, I'm going to go down and grab Vanguard. It's going to show me all of the Vanguard ETFs, and I can also modify this to say over the last year, or I could go out as far as 10 years. So again, just a way to further filter your information. Or we could say these are the bottom performing ETFs. And then if you want to do something where you are looking at, I'm going to go back to that again. You want to look at, you want to find quickly all of the US equity ETFs, all of the sector equity, taxable bonds, maybe municipal or commodities. You would be able to click on this, and it is automatically going to take you into the screener, and then you're going to click on Find ETFs. You have your query criteria. The only disadvantage is that you are unable to filter. This is unfiltered. You will have to add filters to refine further. So again, kind of the broad strokes with that. And I wanted to point out that the Morningstar category definitions are available for further research, and we have field definitions if you want to better understand exactly what a socially responsible fund is, for example. And then going back to the screener for a minute, you might notice some of the fields, if they don't, if they have an NA instead of an actual value, that is because it is looking for 3 years to make the calculation. And if the particular ETF does not have that track record yet, then you will see that in the screener output. So that is what I had for the presentation on our ETF capabilities here at AAII. Susie, are you ready for next steps?
Yes, I am. So thank you so much, Cynthia, for that comprehensive presentation. We have a lot of great questions coming in, so we'll take a few now, and then you are going to have some homework, let me just say.
Okay.
Because there's a lot to go through. All right, so one of the most common questions, if you go back to the AAII homepage, and you, and you pull down ETFs, we have many people in the audience who don't know what basic and plus mean. Can you expand upon that? Is that different levels of subscribership?
Those are different levels of subscriberships, and fortunately, because I work at AAII, I have a very comprehensive subscription and access to the goodies.
As you should, with your writing for the magazine. All right, when in the data set from Morningstar, can you see the holdings of any of the ETFs? The underlying holdings within the ETF. Oh, can anyone hear me?
Yeah,
Doug,
I can hear you, Susie. I can hear you, Susie. I think Cynthia may have either you shocked her with your question, or
I think so.
she's experiencing technical difficulties.
It appears that I just realized she is locked up a bit. So that was one of our questions. And I would like to say that if your question is not answered at this point, Cynthia said she would get back to everyone. Perfect. The whole audience is saying yes. She can hear me. And great. Okay. Cynthia appears to be out. So let me kind of wrap up and talk about some of these promotions while we have the time. I really appreciate everyone sticking with us. Oh, she's coming back. And there are a number of promotions and exclusive attendee offers. Oh, you're back.
Oh,
Perfect.
sorry about that.
That's all right. That's all right. Happens. Holdings. Are we able to see the holdings of any of the ETFs?
No, but you, what you can see under the portfolio is you can see the percentage that are in a particular asset class across stocks, bonds, other, which would be like derivatives or I don't know if they have invested in something different, and then cash.
All right, great.
Percentage in foreign. I usually, as I was saying, I'm sorry before the internet got cut off, if I'm working on a journal article and I really want that granular information, I go to the issuer's website and look at their fact sheets and their particular information.
All right, great suggestion there. So I had a couple questions on the risk index. What is it? Does it measure volatility or the likelihood of loss? What is the measurement there?
The risk index, it measures volatility, yes. So it is looking at the standard deviation of the particular ETF to an average standard deviation, I think, over a 3-year period.
Okay.
And that is actually, if you go into the field definitions, I don't know if anybody can still see my screen or if I need to read.
Yep. No,
okay.
we're watching you as you're going through this.
Yeah. So Yeah, the standard deviation of a fund's return divided by the standard deviation of the average fund. So it's a measure of volatility, and it's for 3 years. Above is riskier, below 1 is less risky.
All right.
Yeah.
Can you, let me scroll down here. We had some tagged. If we subscribe to, if someone subscribes to the AAII Investor Plus and get access to the ETF Screener, is there a help guide that goes through any of these steps or a series of videos? How can we help people moving forward who are just exploring?
There are how-to videos. There's a Screener how-to video.
Okay. Excellent. Is there, maybe I missed this personally, is there an overall grade on an ETF, or is it a series of different kinds of grades?
It is a series of different grades. So you're going to have grades on the performance, the category. Let's just look at an example. Okay. So you're going to have grades on each of the NAV returns for the time frames, on the performance returns, and then the category risk. Don't think there are any grades within portfolio, and then the expense ratio.
Okay. And for each of those grades, is there a way to filter on that grade? Let's say I wanted an ETF with A's for everything. Is that possible?
Yes, that is. So what you would do is you would work with this, you would add, I need to move something on my screen too.
Sure.
You would add a filter, and within these returns, you would like select 60 to 100, or you would, right, yeah, you'd have to maybe work with it a little bit, just depending on the type of ETF in the category. Or down here, you could select expense ratio category ranks. You would do that with the category ranks.
Ah, okay. All right, we'll take a couple more questions and then wrap up. The next question is, what are inverse funds and why are they, why is it important to know about them to buy or not to buy? What's an inverse fund?
Oh, I'm sorry. Inverse funds are funds that are doing something different or opposite typically, and I'm very much oversimplifying this, than the index. And I typically filter those out. We want to have a wide universe of everything that any investor could potentially want to research or access, but I typically filter those out just because they're pretty risky, and I think the way a lot of investment professionals use them is more for trading. So there might be some individual investors who also use them, but they're a little more specialized, difficult to pin down. They're volatile. They can, change direction quickly. But yeah, that's a great question.
Okay. Now, put your thinking cap on here. What metric or defining characteristic in the screening process allows us to know if the returns of the fund are quantifiably significant from other funds in the same class? Is it possible to set that up? So quantifiably significant or different from other funds in the same class. So basically, picking the best returns. Maybe I can simplify it for funds in a similar class.
Yes, again, that would be that category rank based on whatever period you wanted, and then you would set that up to be like 60 to 100, 80 to 100. That's going to pick kind of your A list, and then you can further filter over whatever performance, like year to date or 1 year, 3 years. So it is a little bit playing with it, and it's not, you know, something that you're going to immediately be able to get the easy, simple answer, but you can come to it fairly quickly.
And that's a great reason we save these screens, right? So that we play with them once, we set them up. And
yes, I'm a big fan. I look at these as templates, and then you're adding things or subtracting things, or maybe changing something that, you know, within the filter. So you can do a save as, and then you can go over and load your saved screen. That is a very good point.
all right, so that's all the time we have for questions. And I thank you again for your time and fantastic presentation. To our audience, if you have specific questions about anything covered, you can email them to members@aaii.com or give them a call at 312-676-4307. I want to reiterate our 2 exclusive attendee offers. So we've put this information in the handouts, but let me talk to you about it as well. For members new to or attendees new to AA, to Better Investing, let's say, who may have come from AAII, there is a landing page at aaii.com/betterinvesting, and I'm saying this backwards. The aaii.com/betterinvesting gives AAII offers. So these include substantial discounts on AAII membership and A+ investors, that powerful suite of tools, which includes the ETF tools you saw tonight, or a discount on AAII Platinum, the ultimate investor toolkit, including all of the premium newsletters, model portfolios, and tools for just $198, a regular price of $499. So that is a super good discount. If you're interested in Better Investing, go to betterinvesting.org/AAII, where a 1-year membership for just $99 for the first year is offered to you if you use promo code AAII at checkout. There are also discounts on our 3 newsletters: Small Cap Informer, Dividend Informer, and award-winning for the 16th year in a row, the Hulbert Honor Roll winning Investor Advisory Service newsletter. So again, check those out. And our next BI AAII partner webinar will be held on November 25th, on Tuesday at 7:30 Central Time, 8:30 Eastern Time. And this is on the topic of tax strategies with Charles Rotblatt from AAII and Christy Powell from Falcon Financial of Oklahoma, and a volunteer with Better Investing. This will be our final joint webinar of 2025, and then we'll pick it up again in 2026. Again, the recording of the webinar will be available later this week at aaii.com/webinars or Better Investing's YouTube channel at youtube.com/betterinvesting. Emails will be sent out with the recording, the slides, and additional resources later this week. And with that, thank you, Cynthia. Lovely to have you. Good job. And we'll say good night, good health, and successful investing to all of you. Take care.
Thank you. Happy investing.